The call of the Hogs can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday, and welcome back to the Pod at the Palace. I'm your host, Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas. Shout out to the Coffee Club, tuning in bright and early as always, and to everyone tuning into the show today. Unfortunately, sort of. This is not going to be an episode that's exactly full of sunshine and rainbows because, well, it really hasn't been a particularly good 36 hours or so for the Arkansas basketball program on multiple fronts. But if you're listening, the sun did rise this morning. Onward, we move. The vibes are still okay, even though the topics of conversation are a little bit dicey. But we're going to try to figure some things out. We're going to talk through some things here today. We're going to talk about what the heck is going on with this team on the court. On the recruiting trail, what the future looks like from a roster building standpoint, just address a couple of the elephants in the room and whatnot. And then we'll see if we feel a little bit better by the end of the episode, because there is, in fact, plenty of bright light at the end of the tunnel. So let's get into it and see what we can talk ourselves into today. Our episode is presented by our friends over at the Eye Center of Northwest Arkansas. Guys, your vision is essential to your quality of life, and professional eye care is a must for you and your family. Their award-winning eye doctors are board certified and professionally active, yet their patients talk most about how caring and friendly they are. Every patient receives the best of new vision care technology plus old-fashioned personal attention. They've got everything you could ask for your vision care needs. Surgery options, whether it be cataract surgery or refractive lens surgery. They have availability for their eye exams right now with their new provider, Dr. Rebecca Brown, as well as their other providers who are available to fit into your schedule. They do Botox, filler, IPO with their aesthetics provider, Olivia Risch. Check them out. Whatever you need, they've got you covered over there. Schedule an appointment today with the Eye Center of Northwest Arkansas, 479-442-2020. You can also check out their website, www.eyecenternwa.com, for more info. Well, let's go ahead and, speaking of those elephants in the room, I tell you what, maybe, just maybe, if I would have went to the Eye Center of Northwest Arkansas, I would have seen this coming just a little bit sooner with Baba. Here we are. I would like to thank Buzz Williams for letting me out of the locker to record this show. When I wrap up, he's going to shove me right back in there alongside John Calipari and a bunch of other folks who've been bullish, and rightfully so, about Arkansas's chances here. Well, he committed to Maryland. I saw Joe Tipton put out a video shortly after the announcement on Wednesday and said, hey, it was Arkansas up until a couple days ago, but the pull of staying home won out in the end. And in short, that was true. And I think our mistake here was believing in Arkansas's – it wasn't believing in Arkansas's place in the race. It was maybe discounting a little bit too much the late smoke from the competition because, well, we've heard this before. In fact, with both of the guys currently committed to Arkansas, it was eerily similar, and John Calipari always gets his guy anyway. Well, he didn't get him today. And listen, nothing pisses me off more than being wrong, but at the end of the day, we missed on him committing to Arkansas. Now, by the morning of decision day on Wednesday, we knew where this was headed, and we were talking about it over on the Discord. Like, yeah, it's kind of trending that way, and it looks like he's not going to be a hog afterwards. But I think I ignored the red flags for too long because it was shaping up exactly like JJ and Abdu Touré's recruitments were, right? Like, okay, we get it. Arkansas is the pick, but we're hearing it again about this smoke, a late charge from somebody. For JJ, it was Missouri. For Abdu, it was Providence. And, then he puts on the Razorback hat. At the end of the day, we all get to laugh at people for doubting Cal. It just feels like that's the way these things work. And, it wasn't this time. I guess Travis Branham was like the boy who cried wolf. And we just didn't take it seriously this time, but he was actually right. And it was true. It's frustrating because, Arkansas, for all intents and purposes, crushed it with the visit. I mean, really left a hell of an impression. At least that's what we were led to believe from a feedback standpoint. But who really knows in the end? This was a misinformation campaign that took place in this recruitment, unlike anything I've ever seen. And that sentiment is echoed from national folks who covered this one and coaches who were involved in this one. It was wild. But there's no denying that John Calipari prioritized Baba in a massive way. He was on the plane and out to the DMV to see him weekly for a couple months down the stretch. And they recruited him hard over the summer. As soon as he reclassified, they were all over him. The relationship was there. I know that the full NIL package and everything it entailed was on point. 7 figures, check. Amenities, check. Was told they were willing to go up as well if they needed to. Although, even though it's not my money, I'm not sure I would have gone to the levels that I heard Maryland went. And you never know if these things are accurate, and that's why I don't throw them around very often. But $3 million is what's getting tossed around out there. I'm guessing that that's inflated. But if you're saying 3, then what was it? 2? You know what I mean? That Under Armour was involved over there, and big if true. Hey, hat tip, you guys put your money where your mouth was, and you kept a kid at home. That's good work. Like, credit where it's due. But this is not an excuse to me that absolved Arkansas here, especially when, Baba's camp was very adamant that NIL was not at the top of the list of priorities, but sounds like the Terps leveled up for him. So that was a factor. Absolutely. Anybody can say that, but money does talk. There's no doubt about it. Every time John Calipari gets someone, it has nothing to do with his track record, his coaching, his sales pitch, the university, anything like that. It's always, oh, well, PayPal Cal. He just dropped a bag, right? Well, sometimes that works that way in the other direction. But I don't know that was all of it. And this is, it was just a weird deal, folks. And, I was also told that Cal was really one who was pushing to get him to commit during the early period. Because remember, he was flirting with taking a trip to Tennessee, some other places, was going to stretch it out. And he was like, no, like, no more visits, no more contenders. We've got what you need. Let's do this. And if you remember, Cal was visiting Baba the day that he trimmed his list to 4 and set his commitment date. And as we said at the time, that wasn't a coincidence. And also, and this is what's maybe most confusing to me, look, there's and I think I'm being objective in saying this, there's really no question if we're looking at getting to the league and finding success that John Calipari was the answer in this group. Correct me if I'm wrong, Buzz Williams' next lottery pick is going to be his first one. And to peel back the curtain a little bit, the reason I immediately ruled out Maryland from that list of finalists, if I'm being transparent with you, and probably the reason Tipton did as well, I would imagine, is because there were folks plugged into Baba's side of the recruitment that didn't feel like Buzz could handle a prospect like this. And they were very adamant about that, that he wasn't equipped for it. So I don't know what changed, but we'll see how it turns out. So one of those things, man, every arrow was pointed in Arkansas's direction for weeks, though, besides the one that was aiming at Baba's heart. And, it's a reclass kid. So a 16-year-old kid with the entire DMV committed to keeping him home, and they got it done. So with, some late cold feet for, picking up and moving to Arkansas, a hesitancy to uproot and go, that far from home. Yeah, that's a decent portion of it there too, from my understanding, that factors in. I was told they really maybe firmly decided to stick close to home over the weekend, which is why Maryland and Georgetown wound up being the 2 hats on the table. People saw that and they were like, well, Arkansas wasn't even the top 2. They were 1 for the longest there. But when you decide, you know what, we don't want to go that far, then it's the 2 schools that are right next door. But as I understand it, the Arkansas staff was not informed until Wednesday, like the day of. And I don't believe Maryland was either. They really tried to keep up the drama and the suspense. But as wild as it sounds, Buzz Williams was able to get the resources in place and sell himself and his vision for Baba in a way to get him on board in the midnight hour. Like the day before the announcement, he was able to give his final pitch there. Basically, he did the same thing to Cal that he is, that Cal's done to the rest of the country for decades now. So is this a whiff? I don't know how you can look at it as anything else, folks. So I think Cal's got to kind of wear this one. And so do I. And, a bunch of other folks have to, because we were bamboozled there in the end. They went from expecting to land him to being very optimistic that they would land him, to having no clue if they were going to land him, to not landing him over the course of about a week at the end of it. I can't remember a recruitment that had more like strategically contradictory information being put out with this one. Pops was really telling everyone what they wanted to hear, it seemed like. But he was very, very aware and conscientious of what was being said, who it was being said to, how it was being put out. Different national sources with different info late. I had a coach who was recruiting him that was trying to get him to take a visit before he shut things down, that got shut down and was told, hey, he's Arkansas bound, man. Well, then he wasn't. So they did a great job of maintaining the suspense and the mystery as long as they could up till decision day. So kudos to them for that. And it probably sounds like sour grapes in hindsight. It feels like maybe this was not a blessing in disguise, but there's a little too much baggage involved for our liking anyway. Not the kid. Baba is a hell of a talent and a really, really good kid by all accounts. A crazy upside. I hope he flourishes. I got to be honest with you. I don't know how that's going to work. In Buzz Williams' offensive rebound and free throws only system, we know Buzz very well. He's in no way a Buzz Williams type of player, and Buzz Williams isn't that type of coach. So it's very, very interesting. Maybe he just gives him like that Wade Taylor green light and lets him go crazy. But I guess we'll see how that works out for him. Just a rare John Calipari, man. But it's not the end of the world. The way it unfolded in the end, it does leave me with a bad taste in the mouth. You never expect John Calipari to lose out on a priority to a non-blue blood type. Like, he's lost battles to Duke or, UConn or Kansas, Carolina, here and there, whatever. But no disrespect intended, but to Buzz Williams, that stings a little bit. It does, but it just happened. And it kind of coincides with been a frustrating 24, 36 hours for Arkansas. You had that crazy game against Winthrop. We'll talk about that stuff in a minute. This is going to wind up being a long episode, I can already tell. But Arifan Gian, of course, committed to Houston also on Wednesday, which we've been expecting that since his official visit there last month. There was some hope as Arkansas had really, really started to gain some positive momentum and some traction there. Maybe they could swipe that one, but it was pretty clear after he took that official to Houston that it was a wrap, man. He was going to be a Cougar. So we barely talked about him the last few weeks for a reason. We weren't really talking about his commitment date leading up to it. Well, I mean, that's why. But it is what it is. Like two guys at Arkansas spent a lot of time and a lot of resources recruiting that they didn't get, and that's a little bit rare for a John Calipari team. But they got a couple guys in place, and I think they're going to wind up getting some more. We'll talk about that in just a second. Shout out to our partners over at Drain Masters of Arkansas. Drain Masters are officially licensed in plumbing and drain cleaning while serving the River Valley, Northwest Arkansas, Oklahoma, and beyond. They're ready to handle all plumbing and drain cleaning needs with professional, reliable service. To request a service, give them a call today at 479-646-5585, or you can scan that QR code on your screen. Be sure to tell them that Inside Arkansas sent you and get 10% off all their services. Anything and everything plumbing related. No job is too big or too small. It's Drain Masters of Arkansas. They have you covered. Okay, so I mean, the big board for the 2026 class is getting pretty thin at this point. Arkansas does have two commits in hand already. We know that, JJ Andrews and Abdu Toure. They're going to add to that. I think it's not going to happen until the spring because the early signing period's over now. 3 names left. Well, 4. Caleb Holt's still out there. That's not happening. Unless he just really opens things up. Like the only pathway for Caleb Holt is if Tyron Stokes goes to Kentucky, they don't have the money to pay him there, and he just completely opens things back up. But you've got Bama and Arizona and Houston and all kinds of other schools in there on him. I don't see that happening. But as for the plan for Arkansas, John Calipari already was, and he will certainly continue to be now, very motivated to get one of Jordan Smith Jr. or Brandon McCoy. And we know all about those names, a couple 5-stars. Some people have said to me, well, in not getting Baba, does it increase your chances to get one of those two? And yeah, I could see that. maybe. Like they were very motivated to do it anyway, but do you have more money to work with? Yeah, probably. Can you spend that with these guys of, hey, that's one less alpha, that's one less mouth that we have to feed. You come in, you're going to be the guy. You're not going to be, sharing it with this 6'10" KD unicorn type dude who is now choosing to be a turtle at Maryland. But so yeah, there could be something to do that. But more importantly, I think it's pretty critical that they do land on one of those guys after missing on Baba, because I think there's going to be a good amount of turnover on this roster. And I just, and it's very early to say that. Obviously, we're 5 games in, and so things are very much subject to change. But one thing I don't think is subject to change is I just don't see John Calipari going out and adding 4 or 5 transfers to fill out a roster. It's just not going to happen. So with that in mind, I think having a really strong core of freshmen is important. And I think it's hard to say with these 2 guys because like Michigan and Arkansas with the momentum from McCoy right now, but what does that look like in April or whenever he's in decision-making mode? Like there's still a lot of recruitment left. We saw how quickly things can change with Baba in a matter of days. And now we're talking about a matter of months. You know what I'm saying? And so we'll see. Jordan Smith Jr., he has his finalists. Duke and Arkansas have been right there at the top for the longest. Just such a long way to go. And the Razorbacks will retain some guys, but I don't know if I'm seeing as much as last year. Because what would the options be for retention? It's like DJ, Carter, Billy, Malik Ewan would be the options, depending what the rest of the season looks like for all those guys. I'm assuming Isaiah Sealy back. Do they get enough development to like include, not on the team, but will you feel comfortable at the end of the year saying that Paolo or Elmer or Kareem Rattel factor into the rotation at all? And it'd be cool if one of them could. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm all for keeping them on the roster, having a little depth, some experience in the pro. That's all good stuff. But like, does Paolo figure it out? Does he get caught up with the things that he needs to get caught up with physically, and just with the game slowing down for him, because he's kind of got the talent. He'd be one guy that stands out to me that maybe could factor into things next year. So that's going to factor into it. If Cal doesn't land Jordan Smith Jr. or Brandon McCoy, it doesn't seem like he either has to ensure that DJ Wagner comes back for year 4, or he's going to be going out and getting a transfer point guard, which I just know he doesn't want to do that. I can't imagine a world where Cal goes out and gets a transfer point guard. So he's the king of freshman guards. You know what I'm saying? So for a while there, I had heard that, this was probably it for DJ. And not that he's going to transfer or anything like that, but it's just like, hey, 3 years, now I'm going to go see what I can do, start my professional career, the clock's ticking, all that stuff. But we'll see how this season goes for him, what his stock looks like, and what Arkansas' situation looks like. So if you get a Jordan Smith Jr., then yeah, that sounds like a plan. If you don't, I don't know. I would probably be talking to our guy and saying, "Yo, let's run it back for year 4, man." So they'll be fine on the wing. Like JJ can play the 2 or the 3. Abdu play out there on the wing. Sealy back. Do you get one of Carter or Billy? Like coming into the year, I'd say there's no way in hell with Carter, but does he look like a draft pick right now? I think he's going to figure it out. So a lot of that stuff will work itself out. In terms of freshmen, like Mika Murnin, we talked about him the other day. Like he's another one to just really watch closely for Arkansas, even more so after the Baba news today. He's remained, as I understand it, very much a part of Arkansas's plans, potentially. He's playing professionally in Europe right now this season, but he's not getting a ton of burn over there. And he is going to be draft eligible, but he needs to come play a year of college ball to establish his draft stock. And he intends to do that. A lot of time between now and then, but I would say Arkansas would do very well for itself, assuming he's available, to get that one across the finish line. because, I mean, again, unless you feel like Palasamito is ready for an insane breakout season, you have a ton of work to do in your front court, don't you? Pringle's out of here. Brazil's out of here. Ewan, you're only 5 games in, but right now, I mean, can you rely on that? So you might need a starting and backup 4. You might need a starting and backup center unless Ewan figures it out. So, and I keep going back to John Calipari is not Eric Musselman. He's not Mark Pope. He's not going to go crazy in the portal. Like, I feel like he'd hang up his whistle before he does that. He's gone to 3 transfers a couple of times, I guess. Like, I remember Sheboy, Seville Wheeler, and Kellen Grady, I think in 2022. They had Davion Mintz, Sar, the big man, the Wake Forest transfer, Jacob Toppin, I think the year before that. That was like his worst team ever. But he's gone to 3 transfers a couple times. And so, yeah, I could maybe see him stretching by 1, but going out there and filling out a lineup and multiple starters, I don't know. He's just so outspoken about the portal and just very loud and clear the entire offseason. 1 or 2 every time we heard from him about building the roster. I want 4 freshmen. I want 4 returners, 1 or 2 transfers. And I think if he had it his way, he wouldn't even use the portal. He's going to have no choice because he's going to have to address some things in the front court, but I just have a hard time believing that he's going to go crazy there. So I think they're going to need at least 1 freshman contributor on the front line. And it would either have to be Mika or, a reclass. Yeah, I heard about 5-star 7-footer Obina Akizi as a possibility there. Not for Arkansas specifically, but just as a guy who could reclass in general from 2027 up. Arkansas has been recruiting him hard, so I'd imagine they would be involved in that. But it was kind of like the rumors with Mika last year. You know what I'm saying? And until somebody officially makes that decision, like, hey, I am reclassifying and I am available for next season, I don't think too far ahead with that. And also, it would be fun, but and he's really good. I'm sort of with Cal, though, and his thought process that it's tough with freshman centers. And he's had some really good ones in the past, but he said he kind of prefers to get his big guys from the portal for toughness, for physicality. You've attempted to do that this year, and it doesn't appear that you've necessarily hit on that front. I don't know that overcorrecting and going with, reclass 17-year-olds or whatever is going to solve your problems there. But if you did do that, I just feel like that's fine. You would just need to go and secure a no-doubter in the portal to complement that. I could see the Razorbacks going the international route. They did some strategic agent favors, I think, in the spring with some of the guys that they brought in that could have them positioned to strike here in the upcoming cycle. Somebody asked, like, well, what's a list of names in the international pool? We actually did a whole podcast on that during portal season, and a lot of those names wound up getting brought up and, associated with Arkansas and stuff. And I thought that was cool, but that sounds like a, Christmas break when Arkansas's got 9 days between games or whatever. Do a little bit of digging and come up with something for that. But it does kind of change the complexion of the things, not having Baba there. That would have put, that 3-man group really just has you in a comfortable spot. It's like you got 2 just absolute dogs and winners in JJ and Abdu. You have just the, future lottery pick, such a unique player in Baba, and then you can just chill out and shoot your shot in the spring. And now there's just, it's not the end of the world, but you just have to be on point moving forward. You can't really afford any other slip-ups there, or it starts to get complicated. You might have to build a roster in a way that you don't necessarily want to. But still, despite today, our bold prediction of Arkansas landing the number 1 class in the country, it still lives. Like the odds definitely took a hit today, but if they go get one of McCoy and Jordan Smith Jr. plus Mika, that would have them at number 1 in the country currently. And it's right in line with the top scorer in recent cycles. So but a really, really strong finish is by no means off the table. We'll see. See what it looks like. Hey, we're brought to you today by our friends over at Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas. Folks, head to InsideArkansas.com and sign up for a chance to win free Christmas lighting installation. That'd be cool. I've got them done at my house right now. I can just look to my left out the window and the red, the white, and the green. It looks good out there. If you're in Northwest Arkansas or the River Valley, have Walter Christmas Lighting install and set up your house with professional Christmas lighting like you've never seen. You guys know the deets at this point. They provide the materials, any color, any pattern. They do the installation. They do the maintenance. They come take it all down for you in January. Text our guy Brett for a free estimate, 479-459-1380. You can also check out their website at walterchristmaslighting.com or like them on Facebook by scanning the QR code on your screen. It's Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas, your local holiday lighting experts. Okay, let's shift gears off of the recruiting stuff, and we'll continue to talk about it as we move forward. I'm sure some other, stories and details or whatever will come from the Baba fallout when we're let out of our lockers, and we'll talk about that some more. But let's move to this team right now because, high expectations, it's going on currently, all those things. It's been a little bit weird for, the better part of a week or so, right? Let me take a sip. Water as I record here. I do better about hydrating. I've been fueled by energy drinks. It's crazy. It's like pissing neon green. It's nuts, man. Got to take care of myself. Anyway, we've seen this Razorback team, in the regular season already prove capable of just going toe-to-toe with legitimate teams in really tough spots. Michigan State, I think we can all agree at this point, especially after what they did the other day, that's a pretty damn good team. And the Breslin Center is a beast of a venue to play in. Arkansas wasn't even that good in that game, and they lost a 3-point game. I bet Kentucky wishes that it went that well for them the other night. So that shows you that you can compete with anybody on any stage in any type of environment. So this basketball team, it's not broken. No, not by any means. But I do want to bring up a few symptoms of the problems that they're facing right now. And we'll add a little bit of context and we'll offer some solutions, maybe some things they can do, some tweaks they can make, whatever, where we can. And the first thing I did, I was thinking about defense first, which, they got some work to do. I went over to Torvik, and you guys know that I like to go to Bart Torvik. It's one of the analytics metrics that's used on the selection committee team sheets. It's like Torvik and BPI, which is bad, putrid, and intolerable. Ken Palm, all those different things in there. You got the net rankings; those will come out next month. And I just, for the love of God, man, Arkansas, please just blow out Jackson State, beat Duke or Louisville. Like, let's avoid any more roadblocks. The last thing I want to do is this thing where the net rankings come out and Arkansas has been underachieving and they're like 65th in them or whatever. Everybody's freaking out. And then we got to do the thing where we're updating them every single day. Just win a decent game or two here and stop screwing around and playing with your food. And let's just avoid that this year, please. I'm begging you. That stuff drives me nuts. But at any rate, I went over to Torvik, and it's cool because you can kind of crunch the numbers and move some dates around to get very specific pieces of information. And what I did is I took the first 5 games from last season and the first 5 games from this season. And, like Arkansas played essentially 4 bye games and a neutral against Baylor. Last season, they played 4 bye games and a road game at Michigan State. So the strength of schedule is a little bit more difficult this year. But at any rate, last season, the first 5 games of last season, this is crazy to me. Arkansas ranked 14th nationally in adjusted defensive efficiency in the first 5 games. They were that good. This year in the first 5 games, Arkansas is 110th. Now, we certainly had some concerns about some things defensively for Arkansas at this stage last year, but my assertion that I've made the last couple of days about, hey, this time a year ago, it was just as bad, and I was just as worried about it, that was way off. And I know we were talking a lot about pick and roll defense. I know that I was really lamenting over, Jonas Adu not being fully healthy and the impact he could make, but they were pretty good early last year defensively. Now, the flip side, though, is that those same 5 games last season, Arkansas was 201st in offensive efficiency, and the first 5 games this year, they're 59th. So it's kind of flipped on its head. Actually quite a bit of improvement offensively early compared to last year, and not nearly as good on the defensive end. So at any rate, I mean, do you guys not feel like this team really misses a Adu Thero on that end of the floor? They were still pretty good defensively without him late in the year last year. In fact, they were very good. It was just different, having TB in there as opposed to him. But there's just something to be said for that Swiss Army knife type of dude that they just don't have on this team. He can guard all 5 positions and freak athlete, super strong physical player. He was a lot of fun. Your freshman will improve, but it's definitely a learning curve for those two guys. I've gone back and watched segments here and there from all these games, and I'm not trying to be too harsh. I think we expected some of this, right? It's growing pains. And if these are the things you're seeing right now, you feel good about Arkansas's ability to rectify it because they're young, it's early, they'll learn, they're talented, they'll be fine. But Acuff in particular is kind of killing them right now defensively. If you're into analytics or advanced stats or whatever, he's one of the 2 Razorbacks in the rotation that has a negative defensive box plus minus rating. The other is Billy Richmond, interestingly enough. Early, small sample size. But I wonder if Acuff would be served a little bit better defending off the ball for a while. Like give me DJ or Billy, despite what I just said, is like that point of attack defender. Or, the first guys who have to defend in ball screens right now until the young fellas just get to a point where they're able to think less and play more, because at that point, rotations and your schemes, the things you're trying to do, it's all second nature. You're just reacting because you've gotten the reps. Practice makes perfect, right? And I think that would be good because right now, Acuff he's a guy who's really struggling with some communication stuff in there, a little bit late on rotations, but you think ball screen defense, and you immediately get irritated with your bigs and everything like that. But the guards play a huge role in that as well. And he's been a culprit in a lot of issues that Arkansas has had there. Malik Thomas, he's actually been quite the playmaker defensively, and his advanced stats are actually really encouraging. But, the communication breakdowns and the slow rotations, it's a part of the problem as well. That stuff's getting him. He's, a lack of physicality is shown at times where guards are starting to see, okay, we can get to his chest and maybe push him into the paint, which is okay because he's still making steals and he's so competitive and tough that he gets away with it a little bit. But teams are starting to try to exploit it some. This stuff, Arkansas will improve. Like, I'm highly confident in that. Their first shot defense was really good early on, but it's now slipped a little bit. And you look at it and you think, okay, like they've given up double-digit threes to Southern and Samford and Winthrop. What the hell is really going on here? Is it 3-point defense, or is it not keeping your man in front? So the guards getting a paint touch, the defense collapses, and they're kicking out for rhythm threes and better looks. Is it 3-point defense, or is it not knowing what you're doing in ball screen defense and screwing up the coverages and somebody winds up getting a wide open look? I think Arkansas giving up a bunch of threes right now is a symptom of their other problems, which also makes me feel good. Now, some of it's, effort and lack of awareness or, not having a hand up or whatever. But for the most part, I think it's a symptom for the other issues. It's just like I think not forcing turnovers or getting steals at a high enough clip is a symptom of not being comfortable schematically yet. Like, Arkansas right now, they're sub 300 nationally in both turnover and steal percentage defensively while playing a bunch of bye games. That's not what you want to see. You should be turning these teams over like crazy, and they're not. What I'm not sure they can fix defensively is their thin front court and just an overall lack of physicality that they have going on. Like, Kenny Payne, we're begging you, my man, sort of, to get it figured out with your big fellas in there. If we're talking about real red flags for this basketball team, let's start with John Calipari calling out how teams are not afraid of you and challenging your physicality, and the fact that you're just +4 total on the boards, but actually a negative. You're in the red on the offensive glass against Samford and Winthrop. That is problematic. In fact, I want to look at this real quick. So bear with me for a moment as I find Arkansas's KenPom page, because I just want to look. Southern, for example. Let's see about them and their rebounding. Yeah, they're in the 200s in rebounding. Samford, I already know, is not a good rebounding team. Winthrop is a team that didn't give up a lot of offensive rebounds, but at the end of the day, when you play teams like that, we were pissed, in the Eric Musselman years when Arkansas will play a bye game, and it's like, okay, they won the rebounding battle by 10, but they only grabbed 8 offensive rebounds. They should have had more second chance opportunities than that. You are barely winning, if at all, on the glass completely against these teams. Like, sound the alarm, especially coming off of also getting embarrassed by Michigan State on the boards. Like, they had 12 more than you. They had 19 offensive rebounds. Something's got to give there. And it is strange, though, if you go look at this, the box scores or whatever. If you watch, you can figure it out. But because I hate to lay the blame at the feet of one guy, but I think it's just really hard to look past Malik Ewan here. Because like Trevin and Nick, they're both up there in defensive rebounding percentage in the SEC. Carter Knox is too, actually. Malik Ewan is not even the top 100 players in the SEC in defensive rebounding percentage. It's not total rebounds, because you could look at that and be like, well, he's not playing as much minutes as these other guys. No, defensive rebounding percentage. So the percentage of the defensive rebounds you're grabbing when you're on the floor, not even in the top 100 in the SEC. That's crazy to me. Malik Ewan's defensive rebounding percentage last year was 19.6. That's really, really good, by the way. It is currently 9.8. And you could say to me, well, he was playing in the ACC and this is the SEC. Well, Arkansas hasn't played any SEC teams yet. They're playing bye games where he should feast. And then they played Michigan State. So that's problematic, because we talk about this front court a lot, and I get it, because I feel the same way. I thought it was going to be a lot more effective than it was. But then again, Trevin and Nick, they're combining to give you 13.2 rebounds per game right now. That's not bad. You're getting 7 out of TB. That's a career high for him. 6.2 right now to Pringle. That includes the no-show game he had against Samford. That might be career high range for him. It's very close. It's about what he had at South Carolina last year. Like, I don't know. Carter's averaging 5.8 a game. Malik Thomas is averaging 5.8 a game. So when you look at the raw numbers, I'm not struck by like, wow, that's a really bad rebounding team. But when they have to go small, they really struggle in there. When they go to Malik Ewan, they really struggle in there. And, I think we can talk about using the bench to motivate Malik Ewan, but I got to be honest with you, I kind of feel like he has Cal by the balls here, because he sort of has to play him. I mean, like, Trevin Brazile and Nick Pringle cannot play 40 minutes a night for you. They just can't. Because of foul trouble, they wouldn't be able to. Conditioning wise, you can't do that to them. Maybe you can pull that off with a guard or something, but not your 2 6'10" guys, and it'll just wear them down over the course of the season. Playing them 30 minutes a game is a stretch. Neither one of them has done that in their career, by the way. They're going to have to this year. But even if they both play 30 minutes a game on average, that leaves you 20 minutes in the front court that you've got to fill. And you can do 2 things, I guess. One, you could commit to going small, which means getting Isaiah Sealy some real burn. You're probably conceding rebounding at that point, but maybe you could dial some things up offensively and really exploit some mismatches, and then just have a platoon of Pringle and Brazile and play super fast. It'd be fun to watch, honestly. But for me right now, until proven otherwise, I'm just not seeing how that's the best option for you. Like, playing Carter at the 4 against high major teams is not always a great idea. It went really well against St. John's in the tournament last year when they did it, and there were moments where that worked out. Boy, it looked great against UCA the other day. You know what I mean? But when he's matched up with, and this is not his fault, it's tough. when you see the Darion Williams, the Cam Matthews, the Colin Murray Boyles, the Malik Diaz, the Flory Badungas, the Cam Wards, those are some of the matchups that he's faced while playing the 4. It hasn't gone swimmingly in the paint, at least. And right now he's not exploiting it on the other end of the floor. So that's a really tough ask for him to have to do every single night. That was my point in the offseason. Like, hey, you want to do some 4-guard stuff and play Carter there in certain matchups and speed teams up or whatever? Hell yeah, do that. But for it to be a necessity where you got to do it for, significant stretches every single game, I don't know that that's the best route for Arkansas to take. You have to have another big in your rotation. I feel like you just have to. And if you could just get 12 to 15 serviceable minutes a night from Malik Ewan, it's like 2 rotations a half. You're good. But the 7 to 8 minutes where he's, kind of a glaring negative there, it's putting the entire team in a really rough spot. It's very, very early. And I called Malik Ewan to be an all-SEC big man coming into the year. And I went back, somebody posted his highlights from last year on the Discord. I went back and watched them, and I'm just like, I can't believe what we're seeing right now. And there's more than just Malik Ewan trying to find their way, right, and figure it out with this basketball team right now. Carter's not comfortable. DJ's not comfortable. Billy at times looks uncomfortable in there. There's a lot of guys who are trying to figure out where they fit here. But there's also been some effort and, some body language stuff here and there in nearly every game. And I feel like they're trying to do everything they can to get him going right now. They started him in second halves. They started him, period, the other day. They've been encouraging. They've called him out. I will say he's shown some more flashes and made more plays, including some effort plays here recently. Like, remember that chase down block he had the other day after a turnover? I think about one of the screens that he set against Winthrop the other night where he really popped a dude. I was like, goodness gracious, man. If you did that every time you screen somebody, imagine the looks you would get rolling to the rim. Had an offensive rebound and a putback in that game where I was like, you could do that whenever you wanted to. But then, it's just the inconsistency of the effort. And those instances every game where it's just, you go watch, I don't even know what else you can call it, but he literally just stands and watches someone grab a rebound or get a loose ball or score on him. And it's like, what are we doing, buddy? It's impossible to ignore. And he hasn't responded fully yet to the things that staff are trying to do to get him going. So I know that it's in there, and I know it's frustrating for folks. I'm sure it's frustrating for him and the team and everything. You got to find a way to get more out of him. It was one of the better offensive rebounders in the country a season ago. You don't do that by being lazy. You know what I mean? So I know he's got it in him. You don't average 14 and 8 in the ACC. You don't average 14 and 8 in any league by being lazy, regardless of how bad of a team you're on or whatever. So it's in there. They just have to find a way to get it out of him. And he's got to take on some, personal responsibility for doing that too. And I don't care about scoring. He can do it, but like, your guards are going to do plenty of that. You know what I mean? Like, you got those 2 freshmen that haven't seen a shot that they don't like. So, but just doing a better job of controlling the glass, playing hard long enough for your teammates to not burn out. That's not a big ask, I don't think. I will accept apologies, though, to everyone who got lippy with me about saying over and over and over all summer that they need to go get another transfer forward. Do you understand why I was saying that now? Like, these mouths to feed and everything. I don't know. Like, John Calipari did choose to go light again, and that's fine if all conditions are the way that you need them to be. But when you do that, you run the risk of being exposed if one guy gets hurt or one guy is a bust. And this team in the front court, I argued, is thinner than they were last season. Because you think, well, they had TB and Jonas and Big Z. And now they've got TB, Nick Pringle, and Malik Ewan. Yeah, but they also had a Adu Thero, who's your starting forward and played all the minutes there. And that lengthened that lineup a ton in the front court. They don't even have that now. We just talked about some of the challenges they face when they play, quote unquote, small ball. So, Elmer and Paolo, and folks have asked about those guys a lot. They're not ready to contribute for Arkansas this season. They got in so late. You know what I mean? They missed the entire summer. They're still playing catch up. They need the game to slow down for them. They need more seasoning. Elmer needs more conditioning. Paolo needs to add weight. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to solve your issues right now. So, in my opinion, the only person who can do that is Malik Ewan. And I hope that he does, because I do think that him figuring it out, everything is on the table for Arkansas. Everything that we've talked about. If he doesn't, then I wonder how that impacts the ceiling of this team. Does it bring it down just a notch? Maybe so, maybe not. We'll find out. Plenty of games left to be played. Today's episode is presented by the Air of the Ozarks. It's your #1 heating and cooling company in Northwest Arkansas. Since 2018, Air of the Ozarks Heating and Air Conditioning has been serving Northwest Arkansas, and really just, they're trusted with your HVAC repairs and your installation services for, residential, come to your house, commercial clients, you name it, they got you covered. They understand your HVAC system is a major investment. The weather is getting ready to change here. We've held it off almost as long as we can, but it's going to cool off. You want to make sure that heat that's ready for the season, keep you nice and toasty in there. If you don't have, if you're not roasting chestnuts on an open fire, you just turn your heater on. You know what I'm saying? Let Air of the Ozarks help keep you warm. Request an estimate or service by calling 479-795-2018. Check out their website at airoftheozarks.com. It's Air of the Ozarks, better air, better service, just better. Okay. Dang, man, we're going to be pushing that another hour episode. What are we doing? Tomorrow we'll preview Jackson State for that Friday game. So I think Auburn just beat them by like 60 tonight, or like they're really struggling. And there's a part of me that's really irritated. It just feels like I'm just going to pick them to win by single digits or something to make this way more complicated than it needs to. I'm holding out hope they just smack these dudes around and you get a little bit of a feel-good game, release some frustrations, whatever, get a confidence boost before you see Duke next week. But anyway, yeah, I mean, this time a week from now, we will have known the outcome of Arkansas Duke. It's crazy. But we talked about defense. I want to talk about offense here as we close the show. But I gotta be honest with you, I'm really not overly concerned about Arkansas offensively. They got some stuff they got to figure out. They need to sharpen up a lot. I think you've got several guys who still need to settle into their roles, but this is a super talented group, and there's several guys who can go off at any time. They are a better shooting team than they were last season. I still think they got to find that sweet spot. Sometimes they shoot maybe way too many threes. They settle. Sometimes they don't shoot nearly enough. It's been the last couple games. But whatever. That's nitpicky. You know what I mean? But they've got multiple options of guys who can go get you a bucket when you need one or when something breaks down. Really good, transition team. And I thought they were a lot better at executing their fast breaks, in the last game. They're making their free throws now. They 20-22 the other night. So there's some good stuff going on for Arkansas on the offensive end. And remember what we said, first 5 games last year, they were sub 200 in the country in offensive efficiency. Now they're 59th, which is not where you want to be. Struggled against Michigan State, not so great against Samford. That holds them back a little bit, but we know this team's got some explosive capabilities there. Half-court execution, excuse me, and I think just simply getting a couple guys to play better is kind of where you're at right now. But to that point about having some guys play better, because there's an interesting theory that was shared with me. And yes, DJ and Carter, to a degree, Billy, but Malik Ewan for sure. You need more consistency from those guys. You need them to be more assertive, get themselves involved in the game. But in fairness, because we lament on it a lot, like with Carter, it's like, hey, you're being too passive, man. You got to be more aggressive. With DJ, Cal even says it, like, I want him to be more aggressive offensively. I want him to take the shot. How much of that is on them, though? You know what I mean? And so as things stand right now, Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas, those guys are combining to take 47.4% of the team's total shots. The team's total shots, nearly half of them are taken by the 2 freshmen. Malik Thomas has taken double the shots of Trevin Brazile, and Trevinum's getting up there. He's getting them up there this year. He's averaging like 9-10 shot attempts a game. You know what I mean? If you combine Carter and DJ's field goal attempts, it's still less than what Darius Acuff has taken by himself. So there's those two, and then it falls off of a cliff, and then it's everybody else. Now, don't get me wrong. If you ask me who should be taking the shots for Arkansas, you need somebody to take a shot. Curtis, who should take it? I say Malik Thomas. And you say, well, he's on the bench. Who should take the shot? I say Darius Acuff. And you say, well, they're both on the bench. Who should take the shot? And I go, you know what I mean? So I get it. Those two guys should be your leading shot takers. But I do wonder, like, the more lopsided that gets, the more I understand why these other guys might be a little bit inconsistent right now. Or have you felt like at times, I know very early, I feel like DJ was pressing a little bit out there. And he got into a rhythm for a couple games, and he was off the other night. But I think he's starting to figure it out. Carter, definitely pressing out there. When they get their touches, it's almost like they feel like, I don't know when I'm going to get another one. So I've got to do something here. But again, a friend who I wanted to give credit for this, but did not want it. I said, hey, I'm gonna shout you out for sending me this. And he said, nah, you don't have to do that. And say you did it. Well, I didn't do the research, but I looked at it, everything. But at any rate, over the last 10 years or so, John Calipari has had very few players average more than a dozen shots per game. And Antonio Reeves was the most recent one. Before that, I think you have to go all the way back to like Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox, or Jamal Murray and Tyler Ulis. I'm almost certain that all four of those guys averaged over 12 shots per game. But from that time period, though, that, you know, since then, that includes guys like Shea, Tyrese Maxey, Kevin Knox, Emmanuel Quickly, Tyler Hero, Rob Dillingham, Reed Shepherd, like all those guys. So it's interesting that Cal has always had these dynamic freshman guards, but they haven't really been shot chuckers like that. And it doesn't mean that it can't work if they do. Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox, we have kind of looked at Acuff and Thomas and gone, hey, could they be that next group? You know what I mean? Like Jamal Murray and Tyler, those guys are awesome, and really good teams. So I'm not saying, well, these guys got to shoot a lot less, or it's just not going to work. No, hell no, I'm not saying that at all. But it is interesting. Like Malik Thomas is putting up 16 shots a game right now. Darius Acuff is putting up 13.6. Now, in fairness to them, I do want to point this out because I think it's important. They are also your two assist leaders by a wide margin. So they're taking a ton of the shots. They're also getting a bulk of the assists. The point is, they are the two guys that got to have the ball in their hands all the time. You know what I mean? But, you know, so I think we'll start connecting the dots with some of the things that Cal says, because for a minute there, I was getting not irritated, but I was just like, man, why does he keep harping on Acuff and Thomas? These guys are awesome in early games. Like, oh, they're having some growing pains, whatever. But he kept saying, like, you're shooting all the balls right now. You're taking too many shots as it is. You can't take the bad ones. You got to make the extra pass. Why aren't you throwing that to DJ? Like, it seemed like every time you put a microphone in front of John Calipari, he was bringing that up. And I was like, why is he doing that? And when you get a little bit of context like that added to it, because if anybody knows how the formula works with these, high-end freshmen like this, it's Cal. So why does he keep harping on Darius Acuff needing to average 10 assists and talking about those two guys in particular, you know, like, hey, don't take the bad shots and get your teammates involved? I think he senses that it's part of the reason why some guys might be struggling to find their way. I don't blame that on Acuff and Leak. It's part of the process of coming together as a team. I imagine John Calipari knows that this team probably goes as far as the young fellas take them, but that finding the balance, sharing the sugar, feeding all these hungry mouths, that's what can take this group to the next level. If I know going into a game that hey, I'm gonna get a certain number of looks here, like, yeah, and he said it before, like, nobody's mad at these guys for taking a bunch of shots, but you want to keep them involved. You want to keep them motivated. You want to keep them happy. And how far would it go for Carter Knox to know, okay, not shit, I got to touch, I got to do something. So let me drive into 3 people and fall down or whatever. It's like just trying to make a play when it's not there, as opposed to keeping that ball moving, keeping things flowing, and knowing like, hey, if I do my part, run the offense off ball, if I set a good screen, if I cut hard, Darius is going to find me and he's going to hit me in my spot and I'm going to knock it down. That's part of the learning process of a team getting ready to play together and find the chemistry and the flow and everything like that, which is why, again, wasn't overly worried about Arkansas offensively anyway. They got some things to clean up, but the potential is there for this team to be electric offensively. They really, really could be. So I'm going to be interested to see how things evolve here. Because if you keep getting stuck on it, I think there's one or two ways you could go about it, right? One would be Cal has to micromanage a little bit more. Like, hey, you get a rebound, an outlet, you got numbers, push it up the floor and see what you can get, right? Arkansas is so good in transition. The faster they play, the better off they are offensively. But when you're in grinders, half court, whatever, then if you're not getting the flow that you want offensively through your dribble drive, floppy, whatever, then Cal can start barking out sets. You micromanage it, right? You call a play if you need Carter to get a touch, and you call a play, you run the action for him. They run it, he gets it. You dictated that. You did it. You fed that mouth, right? Malik Ewan's in the game, and you feel like, okay, if we're going to keep him motivated to play defensively, we better get him a look in there. So let's get him in this ball screen, or let's get him this flex cut or whatever, and hit him on the block. Whatever. Then he can call that play. He can do that. So that might have to be something that they do. Just not every single play, not every single possession. I know he was talking about we're going to go that 8th grade, and 5 passes before you take a shot. You should have that anyway, just within the flow of your offense. That's on Darius Acuff. Now, maybe that's something you tell him is, hey, if you have one of these possessions, like if you've got a driving lane, take it. You got a wide open layup, take it. If you're in transition, you want to push, do it. But if we're in the half court and we're doing this thing where you're just dribbling around and then you're putting up a contested jumper and no pass possession like that, coming out. And it's not that we hate you or that we're mad at you or whatever, but we can't have that. We got to have this ball moving and flowing, and it has to be a trained habit for you. And, you tell Malik Thomas, like, hey, unless you're wide open, you don't take that. If Acuff comes down the floor and he initiates the offense by kicking you on the wing, unless you worked your ass off on a cut to get open and get free for a look, then no, you don't take that shot. We're going to get a ball reversal in. And I hope they don't have to do that. The other alternative would be you move Acuff off the ball. I don't think they're to that point yet. I mean, what does Acuff even – hold up. Because he's got a good amount of assists so far. His assist rate is 28.0. That's real good. Thomas is a good passer also. I want to say he's averaging over 4 assists per game, Acuff. I'm not advocating for this, by the way. I'm just saying ways if the offense remains stagnant or you feel like you got to get some other guys involved so they stay locked in, ways to do it. So you can dictate it yourself by the way you call plays, or you can change who's initiating your offense. Darius Acuff is averaging just under 5 assists per game. That's a good number. But there are too many times there where he's still trying to figure out that balance between scorer mode and point guard mode. And so if he's going to be in score mode, and Cal's talked about this, okay, fine, then we need to move you off the ball and let's put DJ on it, and he understands the assignment and he's going to get us initiated in the offense. Darius, you'll get your touches and your shots through that. And we got more flow, we got more continuity, guys touching the basketball, and it's got eyes. Boom, we're good to go. Those would be my suggestions. We did it. We talked about this for an hour. I knew that was going to happen. We had to. Sometimes if if Arkansas is in on a recruit and they don't get him or anything, I'm like, all right, I'm done with this. We're not going to talk about it. But this is one of the craziest recruitments that I've ever been a part of. Like the Ron Holland saga was nuts. That's for sure. The Anthony Black thing was crazy. The Nate Mint thing was exhausting. But this one was wild. Just like with the way information was given out. And then the way that it really did turn on its head over the course of the last couple of days here. So we had to get into that. And I know automatically everybody's like, well, okay, well, what's next? What's the plan? What are they going to do? And we got to rant about roster construction moving forward and the portal and international. You know how it is. It's late at night. We got a lot to talk about. But we had to talk about this team and the things that are ailing them. I hope you feel a little bit better about stuff too. I mean, they're not playing great basketball right now, but so much of this is very, very fixable. And a big part of it is just like, getting reps and playing together and getting comfortable. And then one guy playing a little bit harder and then boom, you're rolling. So I like it. I'm looking forward to seeing this team play on Friday. I really hope they respond. Really hope they respond the right way and have a good performance against Jackson State. But we'll find out what that looks like and we'll preview it tomorrow morning. But I'm going to get out of here for now. Appreciate everybody, as always, for making us part of your day. It's very good stuff. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, Inside Arkansas, go ahead and do that while you're here. Find us wherever you find your podcasts. You can listen to us there. If you're driving to work, listen to us on Apple Pod. We got the video option on Spotify as well. So check out all the options that we got going on there for you. We'll be back in the morning. Appreciate you guys. It's been Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas on the Pod at the Palace. Have a good day. We'll see you next time.